Hi class, it's Mrs. Kane and I'm here with your next lesson. Yesterday we talked about multiplying rational expressions and today we're going to talk about dividing. My little sidekick Chloe wants to say hi. Say hi, Chloe.
Hi, class.
Hi class. She's on her tablet playing a game right now, so I told her to turn the volume down. Hopefully she will abide. So before we move on to dividing rationals, for the warm-up, I want to review the skill that I talked about in Monday's video and then in yesterday's video. So the first problem here says, it says to simplify, and notice we don't have any multiplication, we just have, we have an expression on the top and an expression on the bottom. So when we're asked to simplify, we're trying to reduce the fraction. And to reduce the fraction, we're going to start by factoring the numerator and factoring the denominator. Okay, so to factor the numerator, we need two numbers that multiply to negative 12 and add to negative 4. Okay, and so, and some of you like to use the diamond instead of the area model. Again, whatever method you like to factor is fine. So we can use negative 6 and positive 2. Okay, so those multiply to negative 12, they add to negative 4, and then if we look at the first row, we take out an x, and we know this is x minus 6, and then we get x plus 2. And so the numerator factors into x minus 6 times x plus 2. Okay, and then the bottom, you have to notice that factoring pattern, x squared minus 4, that's difference of squares. We've been talking about that for quite a while. So the factors are x plus 2 and x minus 2. Okay, and then what I taught you Monday is once you have the numerator and denominator in factored form, you're going to look for common factors. So we have an x plus 2 on top and an x plus 2 on the bottom. We cross those out, and then we're left with x minus 6 on top and x minus 2 on the bottom, and that is your final answer. Okay, we cannot cross out the 6 and the 2. We cannot cross out the x's because those are not factors. Those are part of subtraction. Okay, and then in the next lesson, I talked about multiplying rationals. And when we multiply, we're going to factor any numerators and any denominators that need to be factored, and then we're going to cross out common factors that appear in the numerator and the denominator. All right, so this numerator on top can be factored. We need two numbers that multiply to give us positive 2 and add to give us negative 3. So if we use an area model, we can use negative 1 and negative 2. Okay, they multiply to positive 2, they add to negative 3. And then if we look at row 1, we take out an x and we get x minus 1. And then if we look at row 2, we actually need that to, what are we going to take out there? We're going to take out a negative 2, and then notice a negative times a negative is positive 2. And so the factors of the numerator, the first numerator, are x minus 1, x minus 2. Then we see that difference of squares again. X squared minus 4 is x plus 2 times x minus 2. Don't flip anything. We just keep this, when we're multiplying, we keep everything in the same order. So we have x plus 2 over x minus 3. Okay, and we are allowed to cross things out diagonally. Okay, notice we have an x minus 2 here and an x minus 2 here. We have an x plus 2 and an x plus 2. And so on the top, we're left with x minus 1, and on the bottom, we're left with x minus 3. And that is your final answer. Okay, so that kind of summarizes the first two lessons, simplifying and multiplying. So today we're going to move into dividing. Now the good news is if you understand how to multiply, then dividing is going to be easy. There's just one extra step at the beginning. So before we talk about dividing rationals, I want to review how to divide just numerical fractions. Okay, so one thing that you might remember when you learned how to divide fractions is the expression keep, change, flip. Okay, and the reason we remember that expression is because you're going to keep the first fraction the same, you're going to change the division sign to multiplication, and then you're going to flip the second fraction. So what we're going to do in the very first step is we're going to change our division problem into a multiplication problem. All right, so 2/5 divided by 3/4. We're going to write 2/5 times 4/3. Okay, we're going to see if we can simplify anything. We don't have any fractions either up and down or diagonally that can be reduced, so we're just going to multiply straight across. 2 times 4 is 8. 5 times 3 is 15. So we just add that one step at the beginning, and then we multiply. Okay, so the next one, we're going to keep, change, flip. Okay, look diagonally, look up and down, see if you can reduce anything. In this problem, we have a 5 on top and a 5 on the bottom, so we can cross those out. And then all we're left with is 7 on top and 4 on the bottom, and that cannot be reduced. All right, so go ahead and pause the video. I want you to try these last two problems. Just practice dividing fractions. It should help with some of your ALEKS problems as well. So 4 nines times 3 halves. Okay, in this one, we can reduce 4 divided by 2 is just 2 over 1. 3 ninths is the same as 1/3. Now we multiply what's left. 2 times 1 is 2. 3 times 1 is 3. And so the answer is 2/3. Okay, and then the next one, keep, change, flip. And this time we can reduce 2 over 4. We can make that a 1/2. And so all we're left with on the top, 5 times 1 is 5, 2 times 1 is 2, and so the answer is 5/2. Okay, so if you tried those and you got 2/3 and 5/2, then you're in good shape. Okay, so it says use the problems above to explain how to divide two fractions. So again, the biggest thing is understanding that very first step, which is keep the first fraction the same, change the division sign to multiplication, and then flip the second fraction. Okay, after we do that, then we simplify, and then last we multiply. Okay, so just like yesterday when I taught you how to multiply fractions and then we moved on to rationals, we're going to do the same thing today with division. And again, this is going to be a good review of what we talked about yesterday, because after the very first step, we're turning it into a multiplication problem. All right, so this should say to divide, not multiply, sorry. So to divide rational expressions, I'll fix that on your notes, but to divide rational expressions, first step, keep, change, flip. Then we're going to factor any numerators and denominators that need to be, and then we'll cancel. All right, so I want you to physically flip these problems when you do them also. I don't want you to try and do it mentally. All right, so this first problem, I'm going to keep the first fraction the same. I'm going to change the division sign to multiplication, and I'm going to flip the second fraction. And that should be an X. Sorry, I'm finding a couple mistakes on this one. That should be an X right there. I am not going to start over. I'm trying not to be too much of a perfectionist. I'll fix it on their sheet. My daughter's telling me I have to start over, but I'm gonna keep going here. I didn't mean to factor that yet either. So this is 30x plus 30. Okay, so once we keep, change, flip, now we're going to factor. So notice we have a GCF in the first numerator. We could take out a 25, and we're left with x plus 1. And then we could take out a 30, and we're left with x plus 1. Okay, so now we can cross out the x plus 1s. Now, right here we have 25 divided by 5. That equals 5. So I'm going to cross those out and put a 5 here. And so now if I multiply straight across, 5 times 4 is 20. And then on the bottom I have this 30. And then that reduces to 2/3. So the answer is 2/3. Okay, let's try another one. Let's keep. And you can factor as you rewrite it if you want. Change, flip. All right, so now we can factor the first denominator. So I'm going to keep the n minus 7. I need two numbers that multiply to give me negative 35 and add to give me negative 2. So we can use negative 7 and 5. And so that first denominator becomes n minus 7 times n plus 5. And then right here I can take out a 10 and I get n plus 5. And then right here, you might need a calculator to help you out, but you can take out a 9. 54 divided by 9 is 6. Okay, so now that everything's factored, we can cross out our n plus 5s. We can cross out our n minus 7s. And on the top, we are left with just this 10. And on the bottom, we're left with the 9 and the n plus 6. Okay. All right, let's do one more. This time I'm going to factor while I go through the steps. So I'm going to factor the first one into x plus 2, x minus 2. Okay, now we need two numbers that multiply to give us negative 2 and add to give us negative 1. So negative 2 and 1. So I'm going to factor that into x minus 2 times x plus 1. I'm going to change the division to multiplication, and I'm going to flip this, and I'm going to factor while I go. So notice when I flip this, the x squared minus 1 goes on top. That's a difference of squares. The factors are x plus 1 times x minus 1. Okay, and then lastly, I need two numbers that multiply to negative 9 and add to positive 8. So 9 and negative 1. And so I'm going to put x plus 9 and x minus 1. Okay, so now I can cross out the x minus 1s, the x plus 1s, the x minus 2s, and all I have left on the top is an x plus 2, and all I have left on the bottom is an x plus 9. Okay, so just that extra step right at the beginning. All right, so I would like you to pause the video, try the last problem, and then just check your answers. I'm just going to work through it real quickly without any real verbal cues because my point is for you to check and fast forward to the end. Okay, change and flip. So if you got x plus 10 over x plus 4, then you are in good shape. Please take about 10 minutes to do the 3 problems on your daily assignment, which is posted in the daily assignments folder. Thanks a lot. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great day. I'll talk to you soon. Bye, guys.